Hello, thank you for viewing my case study on news libraries. My name is Aisha Duval, and I hope you learn a lot more about news librarians and what they do. The role of the news librarian, sometimes called news researchers, newsroom researchers, archivists, and fact-checkers, is to assist news reporters with background information, factual information, identifying contact information for sources, basically anything that will help with their stories. Jerry Bornstein wrote, "News librarians impact significantly on the news the public receives and are an integral, if not frequently unsung, part of the newsroom team." The role of the news librarian entails maintaining and updating clip files and subject files, training reporters on the use of the archive system and research services they provide. They update the newspaper archive database. They maintain the copyright of the newspaper with the Library of Congress. They oversee the microfilming of the newspaper, which is usually outsourced. They process and enhance the online version of the newspaper, usually to an outside vendor. They also assist with the areas of the newspaper such as advertising, marketing, the opinion or editorial desk, the publisher, and management with their research needs. I like this quote from Amy Dish, the chair of the Special Libraries Association News Division. It definitely speaks to the importance of news librarians. Competencies include: a journalism background is preferred, but not necessary. They have a passion for research and information sources. They understand the news reporter's needs and also their writing process, often working on a very, very quick deadline. They're proactive with story ideas. They possess an innate curiosity. They enjoy the work that they do. An MLIS degree offers more opportunities and provides training in information organization, storage retrieval, and legal and ethical concerns. The first news organization I will discuss is the Fayetteville Observer, North Carolina's oldest newspaper, which serves the Cape Fear region of North Carolina. Fayetteville is also a stone's throw away from Fort Bragg, United States Army post, which is home to the 82nd Airborne. The military is a big part of the Fayetteville community. I had the pleasure of speaking with Ms. Michelle Luther, the librarian at the Fayetteville Observer. As you can see, these are her responsibilities. She maintains and updates the newspaper archive and database, prepares or quotes the news articles for publishing online. She fulfills reporter requests for timelines, historical information, searches the database for past articles, general information, figures, percentages, any information that enhances their news or feature stories. She's responsible for the Looking Back column, which looks at major local events that happened that week that was published 50, 25, and 10 years ago. She maintains the copyright of the newspaper with the Library of Congress and assists other areas of the newspaper with their research needs. There's no question that the newspaper industry, or the news media industry as a whole, is going through a transition. It was evident in my interview with Ms. Luther that this has impacted her tremendously, so I briefly surmised her journey as a news librarian during these turbulent times, starting with the recession in 2008 that severely impacted newspapers across the country, both big and small, that resulted in the layoffs of reporters, copy editors, and news librarians. Because of my journalism background, I couldn't resist including her own words on her experience as a news librarian and why it is still important to have news libraries. Now we go to the Washington Times, which reports on Washington, D.C. politics and policy issues to the nation. After looking at the newspaper's website, I contacted Mr. John Haydor for an interview and was stunned to learn from him that he was laid off in December 2013. He expressed that he was still very much interested in speaking with me for this case study, and I was grateful to have his perspective. Here you have his responsibilities. He previously conducted research for reporters, such as finding contact information of sources, compiling biographies of government officials, gathering data for graphics such as charts and bar graphs, any information that enhanced the news stories or feature stories. He prepared articles too and content to be sent to vendors for online publishing and microfilming. And again, he maintained the copyright of the newspaper with the Library of Congress. I also briefly explained Mr. Haydor's situation following the layoffs and buyouts and the closure of the Washington Times Library. He spoke about the library at one point having 15 to 16 staff members, and it finally came down just to him. He started out as a sports reporter, and when the position opened, he applied and got the job. He has a degree in history, but his innate curiosity and journalism experience made him the right person for the job. And here we have Mr. Haydor's own words. He did mention to me that it was great that I was pursuing an MLIS degree, which he wanted to do many years ago, but he didn't get the opportunity. He basically learned on the job. Now he's having a hard time finding another librarian position. Now we come to the third news organization I looked into, the Virgin Islands Daily News. I live in the VI, and the Daily News provides the most comprehensive news coverage in the territory. They also cover national and world events and how it impacts Virgin Islanders. I included an image of the front page following the death of Nelson Mandela. I spoke with the Daily News' librarian and archivist, Dagmar Greenaway, whom I know from having worked at the Daily News for 5 years. Here are her managerial responsibilities: archiving stories in the newspaper's online system. She performed searches for the general public until 2001, but now collaborates with the public library for them to continue that service. She maintains and updates clip and subject files. She conducts searches of back issues for reporters and compiles information, data, and timelines for graphic purposes. She maintains the copyright of the newspaper with the Library of Congress, and she prepares articles and content for online publishing. The Daily News has not been immune to the recession and its impact on circulation numbers and advertising revenues. Ms. Greenaway said several news reporter positions have gone unfulfilled, including photojournalists. Because of the small size of the newspaper, she's always worked part-time, 5 days a week, because she teaches high school during the day. Her hours have been scaled back to 3 days a week. And here are Dagmar's words about her role as the librarian and archivist at the Daily News. In much of the research I've done, it is mentioned a few times that news librarians are an endangered species. Entire news libraries have been closed down, just like at the Washington Times, and the research services have gone outsourced to vendors. And an analysis of this opinion of being an endangered species, the newspaper industry and all of media and publishing is going through a difficult transition, not only with their interactions with customers, but also with the business model. Many newspapers that were considered too big to fail have either gone out of business entirely or have drastically cut back on their operations to the point that they appear to be shadows of what they were before. What is happening in the industry is affecting in-house libraries and information services severely. It is imperative that news librarians evolve so they too are not felled by the internet and digital archives. One trend that I noted in my research is, and that I hope continues in news librarians. One trend that I noticed in my research and that I hope continues is news librarians contributing more to the content of the paper. They always did so, but they never got credit for it. That has changed over the years. Now they can be more visible and not always in the background. What I think news librarians and organizations that represent them need to do is continue to advocate and sell the contributions they make to the news gathering process. They should also look at news organizations' assets in creative ways and help create new revenue opportunities. News libraries and other organizations should identify new trends and technologies and their implications for news. They should also help create a more informed and innovative organization and assist newsrooms in serving diverse communities better. Here is my list of resources. This was definitely an interesting topic to study and something that holds dear meaning to me. I did not think it would take the direction that it did, which is finding out that news librarians are in trouble and there is still a need for information professionals within the newsroom. It is still anyone's guess that the decline in news coverage may be the result of fewer news researchers and fact-checkers. But I would venture to say that the loss of the skill and expertise of news librarians has had an adverse impact on in-depth news coverage and investigative reporting. I certainly hope news librarians find a way to adapt and evolve for all of our sakes. Here are my sources for images used in this slide presentation. And here is the contact information for the wonderful interview subjects. I thank them for their time and for sharing their expertise with me. Thank you for viewing this presentation.